How much does it or doesn't it matter who's at quarterback for Cade?
Honestly, we haven't talked about it that much. I know it seems hard to believe, but I think whoever it is, we gotta play our game and our style and do our thing and execute our calls. I think very similar skill sets, no matter who plays. Watching Ballard last week, seemed like he was very athletic. Didn't seem to panic when he had a bunch of pressure. Threw a good ball. Was able to run their offense. They didn't seem to dumb anything down for him. So I don't think it is going to affect us one way or another.
All their pre-snap stuff they do. How difficult is that to make sure you're lined up?
That's
right?
the biggest thing. Yeah, they do a really good job with that, and they orchestrate it well. They do it with a lot of tempo too. So it's kind of the way to get no huddle without being no huddle. Because they're going to make you get aligned at the last second and get your eyes right and play. And that's been the emphasis for us. And I think if we can do that, we'll have a chance to succeed. But we've got to get dialed into those pre-snap shifts for sure.
Kind of struck me as our last game that first drive Baylor comes out, does pretty much everything they want to you guys, but then the rest of the game it's all Kansas State.
Yeah.
What kind of changed there defensively?
I don't know. We had a couple of there was a call that I wish I had back. We had a couple of technique errors. It was just kind of a Murphy's Law, I think, that first series last week. A step or little things that thing could have went much differently early too. And kind of the worst case scenario for us to start the game like that, giving a team life that needed it. But then, Cody Stuffle being in Des Purnell in that next series, that was huge for us to get our feet back underneath us and get going. Yeah, it was just probably some things I wish I had done differently there, and just that wasn't our finest moment.
Speaking of Cody, did you see a game like that coming from him?
He's just old Mr. Reliable. I was telling somebody earlier a joke about this. He and I, he's just doesn't wear gloves. He doesn't tape his. He's just different than a lot of guys. He's just funny like that. And he just has this remarkable ability to remain calm, like when everything around is frantic, he's just calm, and he and I kind of joke about that. I think it was about 5 or 6 weeks ago, some kind of thing was going on. It was real intense, and I grabbed him because he was just standing next to me, and I go, you know what, Stuff, sometimes it's hard to be smart and good looking at the same time. And then after, the fumble or the sack the other day, everybody's dancing around with him and stuff, and he came up to me and he goes, you know what, it is hard to be smart and good looking at the same time. So it's just kind of that's just the kind of kid he is. I just really appreciate all the work he's done for us.
Has the secondary really settled into rhythm of flow and what their roles are for each position?
Yeah, I feel like Kobe and VJ for sure, the more pictures that those guys can get at their respective positions, I think that's helped them a lot. There was a couple of weeks there, and I think sometimes it's my own fault because, we take for granted some of our base things, and we, emphasize maybe some more of the exotic things when those guys needed those base down reps to get comfortable in their new positions when we flip those guys around. So those guys have been rock stars. And then I think the other part of it is Will Lee and Keenan Garber, have really settled in. And I don't want to say they were wild cards early in the year, but I think they were still kind of learning how to, the flow of the game and some of that. And just seeing their confidence on the field is a big deal. Those guys have solidified us for sure.
You feel like you almost have 4 cover corners out on the field at any one time?
Including Marquise, is that what you're saying? Sure. Yeah, you bet. I think those guys can play man against anybody in the country, and I think that we thought that for a long time. I think the big thing is, can they do some of the other things? And that's where they're improving right now, is they're being, when we use them in the run fit, when we send them on a blitz, when we do these different things with them, they're getting so much more comfortable in those roles.
Are you tempted to want to keep Cooper Beebe in on red zone defense?
Man, all I know, we were giving our guys a little grief. He was the only one that was getting any knockback on that play in there. Just how square he stayed and how his feet moved. It was just that was kind of cool. I wish I don't know if Coach Klanderman would be too fired up about that, but we'd love to use him.
Kind of going back to the quarterback thing, this offense has a lot of window dressing. They do throw the ball effectively, but at the end of the day, it's about 2 really good running backs and an offensive line that sets a tempo.
Yeah, and a veteran offensive line that's seen a lot of pictures, and 2 tailbacks that can really get downhill on you. I mean, these kids are physical runners, both of them, and similar style-wise, I think. They're sneaky, personnel-wise, they've got tight ends that make plays. Probably aren't the flashiest guys, but they find ways to get open. They catch balls in traffic. They're really spearheading all the shift trade motion stuff. And then they've got receivers that have length and can run and have great ball skills, and think very highly of the personnel that they have. And you're right. I think the quarterback mobility factor makes all that stuff even enhanced and more scary.
What advice did you have for Khalid after he was ejected the other day?
I didn't see him until the following day, honestly. I talked to him this week a little bit. He's Khalid has matured so much, and that's so uncharacteristic of him. I just think he was caught in the moment a little bit, and I didn't even really see what started it or how it ended, to be honest with you. And it is unfortunate because he's been such a good leader for us, and he's fine. He's back. He just kind of got wrapped up in it. I don't think he was starting. I think he was trying to walk away from it, and by all accounts, that's what I've heard, and kind of got wrapped up in it. And once you're in it, it was on, so to say.
How do you feel about your situation and Mike having lost Jake Clifton?
Yeah, that was shout out to Jake. We've talked about Jake in here multiple weeks. They don't come any better than him as far as a person and a player and a guy that you want representing your program, and I feel awful about that. But I feel very good about Austin Romaine. He's started games for us. Austin's kind of trip this year is he was a guy that we thought could help us. We thought that in fall camp, and didn't think we were going to have to when we had Daniel Green. And then when Daniel's situation went down, Austin all of a sudden got thrust into a role where he was part of the rotation, and at that we were able to spell him and keep him kind of grounded. And obviously now with the loss of Jake, he's going to have an even greater role in what we do, and we feel confident that he can run the show in there for us, and physically he's as good as anybody we have, and I'm excited for him to get his opportunity.
How do you prepare for an offense that doesn't necessarily run gadget plays, but a bunch of abnormal stuff? You're going to get a wildcat, a reverse, a double pass, something like that.
Yeah, and the tricky thing is that you can't. They're not going to do the same things twice. It's not like something they did last week. You're going to get it right, and that's not the MO of anybody nowadays. But I think it's just us emphasizing our rules and principles again, and going back to our fundamentals and our rules and principles. At the end of the day, those are the things that are going to win the game for us. Is us being sound and me trying to get the numbers where the numbers need to be, and then those guys going out there and playing as fast as they can.
Stat earlier today, 13 takeaways in the last 5 games, number 1 among Power 5 teams. Just was curious, what's working so well for you on takeaways?
Man, I don't know. We were emphasizing it just as much when we were getting none, and we were morons for not being able to get any. And I do think, I have a theory. We've played a little bit more zone coverage, and I do think that when you have a little bit more eyes on the ball, sometimes that lends itself to more interceptions, as opposed to when you're playing man and most people have their backs turned to the ball. That's maybe part of it. The other part of it is I do think our guys are getting a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more experienced, and when they get to the point of attack, they get there with a little bit better body control. And I think that's probably got something to do with it too. But as far as us hammering it home every day, that doesn't change since August 1st. That we've always been saying that, and it's just sometimes they come in bunches, and I hope they keep coming.